Hi class, good day and welcome to our EM23 or Stylistics class. And before we take a look at all the lessons that we are going to tackle on Unit 1, which is the overview of Stylistics, let's look at first the questions and answers of our diagnostic exam as I promised. So without further ado, I will take you now to our PowerPoint presentation. Alright class, so let's take a look at now the PowerPoint presentation that we have for our Unit 1 in Stylistics. So before we are going to proceed, let us answer first the diagnostic exam on Unit 1 that you answered prior to the beginning of our class. So once again, welcome to the world of Stylistics. Unit 1 is an overview of stylistics. And before we take a look at all the lessons that are under Unit 1, let us look at first the answers to the diagnostic exam that you guys answered. The first one, it is a subdiscipline of linguistics that deals with a systematic analysis of style in language. Well, the answer for number 1 is stylistics. If we are going to take a look at stylistics, we would always look into the style of the author, and that is the focus or the core of our study, and it is a subdiscipline of linguistics. The second, it is a method of textual interpretation in which primacy of place is assigned to language. So number 2, the same answer, it is still stylistic. So textual interpretation. Before we can come up with interpretation, we have to make sure that we have a linguistic basis on our analysis, and later on we will derive our interpretation of the literary or non-literary text that we analyze. The third one, it is concerned with using linguistic techniques to assist in the interpretation of text. Take note, there is an assistance in order for us to interpret the text, and that is what the core of literary stylistics is all about. The literary stylistics, it allows us to use linguistic techniques, for example, stylistic devices, or we are going to look into the violation of the author in terms of grammar, in terms of sound. And after using the linguistic techniques that we can possibly use in the analysis of the text that we are studying, then we are going to come up with its interpretation. Next, the fourth one. It is concerned with doing stylistic analysis in order to test or refine a linguistic model. If our purpose here is to test or refine a specific linguistic model, then that is what is the core of linguistic stylistics. So, if our purpose is to test an existing linguistic model and to refine if it works, then that is linguistic stylistics. But if our purpose is actually to analyze a certain text in order to assist us for the interpretation of the text, then that is literary stylistics. Now the fifth question, where did stylistics take its roots? Now if we are going to trace back the history of stylistics, we would be informed that it originated in the formalist school. And where is it? What country of origin is the formalist school from? And that is from Russia. So the details of the history of stylistics will be tackled later on. Then the seventh, it is defined as the language of a particular writer, period, genre, and text, and that is the style. Okay, remember, if it's the language of a particular writer or a language that you can see in a particular period of time or a particular genre of literary or non-literary text and the text itself, then we are looking into its style. 8. Is stylistics as a discipline declining in this generation? Well, the answer is no, but there is one, some authors, for example, Lesertol, actually in 1993, he definitely like tried to really, explains, or he mentions that stylistics is ailing, especially in the 20th century, but it's not. In fact, now it is being strengthened. Well, contemporarily, stylistics is strengthened as it is now offered as a major subject in programs like what you guys are taking up. The ninth, which of the following makes up the style of the author? So all of the choices. Descriptive technique, it can be her style. The tone of the writer is his or her style. The word choice, that is his or her style. But the thing is, you have to make sure that you know your style and you don't, write up that is, very generic. I mean, you have to have your own style as a writer. Though there's no such thing as a bad poetry, I believe, since every writer has a reason why he or she is writing it, such that when you really would consider writing poetry or writing literary pieces or non-literary pieces your not just your hobby but maybe your livelihood or your means of income, then definitely you have to make sure that you have your own style as an author. And then the 10th, it is a quality of language which communicates precisely emotions or thoughts or a system of them peculiar to the author. So quality of language, we look at the emotions or thoughts, that is still style. 11, it implies the peculiarities of a writer's individual manner of using language means to achieve the effect he or she desires. Then we call it the individual style. So if you are a creative writer or a poet, let's say, then you definitely have to have your individual style. If especially you consider this craft as your source of income, okay? As a poet or as a writer, you have to make sure you were able to build up your own identity. And the next, it is an invariant, which should embrace all variable phonemic, morphological, lexical, and syntactic patterns where their typical properties circulating in the language at a definite period of time. We call it the norm. So the norm, it says here that the norm is what should we use, because that is what is accepted in the society. Okay, let's say the standard of a certain language. So that is the answer again to number 13, which is it is the standard usage of language, that is the norm. Next, it is a system of anti-related language means which serves a definite aim of communication, that is functional style. Actually, when we say interrelated system of interrelated language, which serves a definite aim of communication, let's say you have to write a letter, okay, a business letter, then you know that there is a structure in writing a business letter, and that's why you don't have to deviate on that. Then that is functional style. So which of the following is a purpose of stylistics? To explore the language, to explore creativity in language use, to obtain a more objective interpretations of text, all of the choices. The answer is, of course, the answer to this question is all of the choices. Okay? We are here to explore the language. We are also here to explore creativity and language usage. I mean, how did a certain author use a language, creatively use a language? And of course, it would, allow us with our exploration, the byproduct, or shall we say the outcome of this one is a more objective interpretation of text. Next, 16, it pertains to the patterns of written language. So when we say patterns of written language, we are going to take a look at graphology. 17, it pertains to the meaning of language in context. Now, if we will see meaning of language in context, then that is pragmatics. 18, it refers to the vocabulary of a language. The vocabulary of a language, that is lexicology. When we say vocabulary, we would always look into lexicon, and the study of that is we call as lexicology. And it is the study of the meaning of words and sentences. So that is semantics. But if we are going to look into the meaning in context, that is pragmatics. But meaning of words and sentences, semantics. So it's a leveling. As a language learner, we have to take a look at first the semantics, since after which we can expand or go beyond the pragmatics. So in pragmatics, we would consider here now the context, like the specific usage of a phrase or a word in a situation or in a place. Okay, the specific context, because it could have a different meaning. Number 20, he focused on defining the qualities and what he termed poetic language. And this is what is the focus of Roman Jacobson. Roman Jacobson is one of the important personalities in the history of stylistics. Actually, all of these four definitely have contributed a lot in the field of stylistics, and we are going to be looking into them, or we could also come across with these four personalities as we go along with our discussion in the history of stylistics. So thank you very much, class, for listening to my video lecture, or watching my video lecture rather. This is the first part, and as what I told you, we are going to take a look at first the answers to our diagnostic exam. So next time we are going to discuss, I will discuss to you the first lessons, definitely the first 1 to 3 lessons, so that by the end of hopefully next week or the week after next, we would go to Unit 2. Before going to Unit 2, we'll have our exam first. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'm glad that all of you have finally turned in your answers to the diagnostic exam. So definitely now you can see, and you can try to also discover for yourself what are the things that you think you definitely have no idea, or you have very limited knowledge about, since stylistics is pretty much a new subject for us all. Okay, but this is your major subject, so I hope you will all love stylistics. Let's try to fuse linguistics and literature, or language and literature. Stylistics is the fusion of language and literature. So if you love language, but you don't love that much literature, but you also would like to study literature in a sense, then stylistics is for you. And if it's the other way around, still stylistics is for you. And if you both love language and literature, then more that means stylistics is for you. So thank you very much. I will see you next time. Bye.